Hello, you've caught me on this sofa for the 200th time, not counting those 3 times where we had to take the video down because of copyright reasons, but let's not get into that. 200 Friday features.
That's loads, isn't it? I've nearly beaten SpongeBob SquarePants. Like, if each Friday feature was a Smartie, you'd need 2 whole empty pasta sauce jars to hold them all.
Can someone please just take these away from me, otherwise I'm not going to be able to remain vegan for much longer.
What I'm trying to say is, please let me stop. No, thank you. Thank you for watching and watching and watching and demanding that these continue to be made every week. I'm going to celebrate by making a list about video game characters whose best years are undoubtedly behind them, and yet for some reason they kept chugging along anyway.
Here are 7 video game heroes who just didn't know when to quit.
First up, Old Snake, Metal Gear Solid 4. That's right, the tally's back for an episode 200 special. So, Old Snake isn't technically that old. During the time Guns of the Patriots is set, he's only 42 years old, but accelerated aging caused by the fact he's a clone and not, as Pinocchio would say, a real boy, has led to him looking a bit, how shall we say, grey.
I mean, the fact he's been walking around for the last 9 years of his life with a genetic killer virus rattling around inside his veins probably hasn't helped either.
But then Snake has a job to do, and if you've got a job to do, saving the world, writing list features on YouTube, it doesn't matter how old and past it you are, you've just got to crack on with it. And so Snake manages to single-handedly crawl, creep and octo-camo his way through 4 countries and an impenetrable nuclear-equipped battleship the size of a small island before punching his nemesis to death on the top of Arsenal gear. Excellent, Snake. Age hasn't slowed you down one bit.
If there's one thing I've learned about Solid Snake over the years, it's that every time he's shot, tortured, half-drowned, injected with a genetic killer virus, he just sighs, gets up, and wins.
If there's a sequence that encapsulates Solid Snake's inexorable spirit in the face of torturous physical punishment, it's this bit towards the end of Metal Gear Solid 4, where he hauls himself down a corridor while being blasted by microwaves. Also, Otacon can remotely disable a rogue AI. He's exhausted. You're exhausted from mashing triangle. Snake's life bar is out, his stamina is depleted. His sneaking suit looks like it's gone through Satan's own tumble dryer. And yet somehow he keeps moving forward.
My back. Entry number 2.
Entry number 2 is Kratos from 2018's God of War. Now, like Old Snake, Kratos isn't really that old, but he's past the stage in his life where he I don't know if enjoys is the right word, but he certainly took to his work with an energy and gusto you'd have to say borders on the enthusiastic, wouldn't you? Here he is setting about de-souling all of Greek mythology with happy madness blazing through his young eyes.
Fast forward to 2018 and Kratos is a little bit more somber about the whole punching gods in the face until they're dead thing.
Maybe it's because it's a bit colder in Norse mythology land. Maybe it's because Kratos has had time to reflect on the harsh brutality of his past life. Maybe it's because he's a dad now, but whatever the reason, Kratos hauls himself through God of War on PS4 with a kind of grim reluctance. The man of shouty muscles replaced by one of laconic wisdom, and you sense one harbouring a deep sorrow that's taken root right at the very core of his being.
This is very noticeable in his battle with the stranger right at the beginning. You can tell he doesn't really want to fight.
Kratos of old would have been all like, "Ah!" and just ripped his head off, whereas this more reserved Kratos simply punches him through some rocks and then lots of times in the face, really calmly. And you can see he doesn't want to do it.
This is just the start of Kratos' journey, however, and like it or not, he has to put his old body through another 25 hours or so of epic god-slaying.
Thanks, Kratos. Thanks for doing it again. I know you're tired and just want to live in a nice wooden hut in the snow, but these games are just too much fun, okay? Next up, we've got Sully from the Uncharted series, and just to warn you, there will be story spoilers for Uncharted 1, 3 and 4 in this next bit, so if you've not played them yet, skip ahead. Okay, so Sully has two purposes in Uncharted. Firstly, he's Nathan Drake's likeable father figure mentor type person, you know, accompanies him on his adventures, cracks jokes about the good old days, breathes heavily after a few minutes leaping through the jungle because, hello, he's old.
His other purpose is to make you constantly terrified he's going to die this time.
Because let's face it, if Naughty Dog are going to make us all cry and kill off one of their main cast, it's not going to be Drake or Elena, is it? Sully is basically the tragic death safety net, the type of character that's there to validate your fear in any given perilous situation because you know he could die.
It's not helped by the fact that we think he's died at least twice over the course of the series.
He gets shot near the start of Drake's fortune, and then in Uncharted 3 we were sure he was gone for like an entire hour until it turns out actually no, he's fine, stop your worrying. And then in Uncharted 4 it was pure terror the entire way through. We knew it was going to be Drake's last hurrah, someone was definitely going to be killed off, and it was definitely going to be Sully.
Until he wasn't, and everyone just lived happily ever after, but still, Sully, the worry you put us through.
Who would have thought it? Sully survived the entire series. He kept up with all the young pretenders, was always there to save the day in his magic rescue plane, and I really, really wish he was my actual uncle. Entry 4. Ezio Auditore da Firenze of Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood and Revelations fame. Ezio is a rare example of a character we get to play as right from birth all the way up until his retirement from being a video game protagonist. One of the first things you do in Assassin's Creed 2 is wiggle baby Ezio's limbs in an ingenious tutorial that simultaneously teaches you what buttons move what body parts and creates an instant bond between gamer and character.
You know, you controlled Ezio's very first moments. You're as good as his parent.
And so you follow teenage Ezio as he brawls on the streets, leaps across rooftops, suffers family tragedy, and ultimately dons the iconic assassin's robe and embarks upon a life of danger in the pursuit of vengeance. Across 3 games, you'll get to punch the Pope, explore the beautifully rich and diverse cities of Florence, Venice, Rome, and Constantinople, and see your protagonist morph from bright-eyed junior assassin to the grey, world-weary master of the Order in Assassin's Creed Revelations. In terms of the story, Revelations is my personal favourite of the Ezio trilogy. He's wiser, less impulsive, has an even sexier voice than before, and seems built of steel from his unbreakable determination to the streak in his hair and the blade up his sleeve.
His fighting style seems more deliberate too. You know, the first few moves are in his head, almost like an aging footballer dropping back into midfield to dictate the play as the sun sets on their career.
You can eviscerate hordes of enemies in Revelations while barely moving. You can almost feel the power and experience bristling from Ezio. Feel the enemy's fear and trepidation. You're going up against Ezio Auditore da Firenze, the legendary assassin. You're already dead, basically. You may as well just lie down.
Ezio's in his early 50s when he eventually retires at the end of Revelations, and still, even when he was way past his prime, no one could touch him. What a legend. We don't talk about what happened in Assassin's Creed Embers on this channel.
Our next entry isn't really a hero, well he is to me, but he has to be on this list simply for still doing what he does while being over the age of 100. Yes, it's another Metal Gear entry. What are you going to do? It's my video, This entry is the End, the legendary sniper who fought with the Cobra unit in World War II before being wheeled out one last time to take on Naked Snake in Metal Gear Solid 3.
As with many Metal Gear villains, there's a pinch of the supernatural in the End's narrative makeup.
He's infected with a parasite that, among other things, artificially increases his lifespan and also enables him to subsist via photosynthesis, a brilliant ability for a sniper as it means he can remain in one place for days and weeks on end without needing food or water to survive. He is very old though, and so often has to be woken up by his parrot, which acts as a sort of spotter, if you like.
Also, he's on this list because he is undoubtedly one of the top 3 boss fights of the entire Metal Gear saga. Honestly, it's amazing.
It can take literal hours to finish him, an epic sniper duel set across a huge swathe of rainforest where you have to hunt down a man who, for all intents and purposes, is a plant with a sniper rifle. You have to move slowly, working out where he is while simultaneously stopping him from spotting you. Wonderful. Age, as they say, is just a number. Talking about numbers, entry 6 is Dante from Devil May Cry, a half-demon, half-human super warrior who's been sticking swords in evil things since he was a child, probably. In Devil May Cry 3, you get to control adolescent Dante as he twirls around surfing on enemies and making the camera do impossible things in cutscenes. While in the upcoming Devil May Cry 5, Dante concedes a bit of room for up-and-coming Demon Slayer Nero, who's had a bit of a makeover post Devil May Cry 4 himself. But when Dante does appear, he's looking all cool and old-ish and grizzled and a bit like Norman Reedus in The Walking Dead. Maybe that's just the motorbike.
Bottom line, Dante is getting on a bit now, but someone's got to make those devils cry and retrace Nero's steps in the second half of the game.
So come on, Dante, on your bike. Yes, you might be too old for this now, but then so am I, and that hasn't stopped me making these videos, has it? Our final entry is Heihachi Mishima from the Tekken series, the poster boy of the Tekken series, if you will.
Or poster granddad, if you like.
I mean, Heihachi was old in Tekken 1. We're now on Tekken 7, and he's still at it, still murdering his family, still hosting massive fighting tournaments so he can punch people in the face and murder his family.
He loves a bit of that, doesn't he, old Heihachi?
In Tekken 2, he throws his son, Kazuya, into a volcano. In Tekken 3, he throws his grandson, Jin, out of a helicopter. In Tekken 4, he strings them both up with the aim of using their DNA to create a new super being. And in Tekken 5, he straps his son, his grandson, and his dad to a rocket and then laughs as it ignites and shoots off into space. In Tekken 6, he's literally in space in a space suit with his son and grandson, and they all kick each other and fall back towards Earth. And then finally, in Tekken 7, spoilers for Tekken 7, Heihachi fights Kazuya again, and this time the former is thrown into a red-hot river of magma and dies.
Imagine Christmas round that house.
Credit where credit is due, however. Heihachi may be an evil, heartless, patricidal, sonicidal, grandsonicidal maniac, but he doesn't let age slow him down, does he? So there you go, 7 video game heroes who just didn't know when to quit. Thanks for watching the 200th Friday feature, especially if you've been around since the beginning. I never thought we'd get to this many, so thank you. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this one, and the notification bell so you don't miss the next one, and I'll see you next week for, yes, another Friday feature.
For the players.